Hi, I'm Corinne Young. I'm a nurse practitioner in pulmonary medicine, also the founder and president of APAPP, the Association of Pulmonary Advanced Practice Providers. And today we are talking about the FIBRONEER-IPF trial. So this was a phase 3 randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial, and it looked at Nerandomilast, which is an oral therapy, which is a preferential inhibitor of phosphodiesterase 4B, or more commonly, I think in the pulmonary field, a PDE. So we're kind of familiar with PDE therapies. There's been multiple PDE therapies released in pulmonary medicine. This is a PDE4B. And the purpose of the trial was to look at the efficacy and safety of Nerandomilast in patients with IPF. So there's another FIBRONEER trial ongoing for PPF, but today we're focusing on IPF. What they did was they took these patients, and there were 3 different arms that they went into. They either were getting the Nerandomilast 9 milligram or 18 milligram dosing, or placebo. And then they also had these patients tiered out that came in naive to antifibrotic therapy. And then they had patients coming in who were already on antifibrotic therapy. So they were on pirfenidone, or they were on Esbriet. And then Nerandomilast was added on at the 9 or 18 milligram dose, or they got the placebo with their background antifibrotic therapy. So gave us a lot of information about monotherapy at low dose, at high dose, comparing it to placebo, or patients who are on antifibrotic therapies and adding it on at a low dose or a high dose. So lots of information coming out of this trial. They studied these patients for a year, 52 weeks, and they were looking at how these patients did. The primary endpoint was specifically looking at FVC from the baseline, and if that was changing over those 52 weeks, that they're able to slow down decline in lung function. Also, a key endpoint in these patients was looking at time to their first acute exacerbation, a hospitalization related to a respiratory cause, or death in these patients, which unfortunately these patients have high mortality. So they were able to meet their primary endpoint. They were able to show statistical significance in improvement in their lung function, or reducing decline compared to placebo. And they were also able to show some reduction in exacerbations and hospitalizations and time to death as well. It was also found to be safe, which is great. And we also were able to see less GI side effects in this trial compared to other antifibrotics. The patients that did have more GI side effects were the patients who were adding Nerandomilast to their existing antifibrotic therapy that already had GI side effects. Remember, PDEs, there are a lot of PDE receptors in the gut. And so that is a potential side effect, but this PDE4B tends to have less of that GI activation, which is likely why we're seeing less GI side effects in patients. The discontinuation rate in this trial was pretty similar to placebo, which is very, again, telling that it wasn't very severe side effects. Of course, real world, we're going to have to see how our patients tolerate it. But in the trials, it was tolerated as well as placebo, which is great. So this is a novel therapy for our patients as far as a antifibrotic option. It's lovely to know that we can use it by itself. We can use it in combination with other antifibrotics, and that our patients are likely going to tolerate it, and it's safe, which is lovely to know. So thank you for joining us today to review the FIBRONEER-IPF trial, and we hope to see you again on this FAQ.